Hello, my name is Liavan Mallin, and I'm an entrepreneur. I believe that in Ireland, I'm going to start by telling a story. I met an acquaintance of mine, and he has a 14-year-old daughter who said to him that she really didn't believe there were any opportunities in Ireland when she graduates. What she wants to do is build a career and a life elsewhere. And what's more, he said to me that most of her friends feel the same way. Now, unfortunately, she is not unique in her attitude or her beliefs. I asked him, would she not think of becoming an entrepreneur? And he looked at me very blankly. Now, I believe that needs to change. And in order to change, I think we need to set ourselves a goal. And that goal is to become #1 in terms of entrepreneurship activity within Europe. Now, to achieve that, I think we need 4 things. First thing we need is political will. Richard Bruton, Enterprise Minister, recently said that 2/3 of all new jobs are created by businesses in the first 5 years of operation. And that's why entrepreneurship is central to the government's plan for job growth. And recently we had the new government entrepreneurship forum, which is going to come out with recommendations very soon in terms of encouraging startup activity within Ireland. But we also need an entrepreneurship education strategy, a written plan on how entrepreneurship will be delivered right across primary, secondary, and tertiary education, so that not every educational institution does their own thing. Also very important is experiential entrepreneurship learning. So the kids actually experience starting a business and growing a business. And the reason for that is because through that experience, they learn an entrepreneurial mindset, a way of thinking, a way of problem solving, generating ideas, initiative, selling, and being able to work in a team and taking certain risks. I believe we need the 9-year-old entrepreneur, and we need a school system that supports them. Now, where are we starting from? Well, if you look at a recent GEM report, GEM is the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, and they monitor entrepreneurship around the globe. And you'll see that Ireland is right at the bottom in terms of entrepreneurship as a desirable career choice. Brazil, Zambia, China, they're all up there. Now, we rate a little bit better when it comes to necessity-driven entrepreneurship. But if you look behind the figures, what you'll find is there's been a growth in necessity-driven entrepreneurs from 1996, when it was about 14%, to 25% this year, but only within the 55 to 65-year-old age group. So we can assume that's as a result of the economic downturn. Now, there has been a decline in entrepreneurial activity within Ireland. We have half the number of SMEs per 1,000 compared to the European average. And those SMEs that do start, they grow to about 5 people and then they stop. They become lifestyle businesses. So they don't continue to problem solve and create ideas. We rank about 18th out of 35 OECD countries. And if you look at a country like the US, where 1/3 of the population is an entrepreneur, and there are 530,000 businesses created every month, you realize that actually what we need is we need a change of culture in this country. So how do we do that? Well, we develop an entrepreneurship education strategy. And that involves a whole range of things. It involves online training, teacher training. It involves media attention, creating role models, school awards, national competitions. It's multifaceted. Now, we also have to challenge the common misconception that if you deliver education, entrepreneurship education, especially to children, what you're really teaching is capitalistic greed. When in fact, if you develop the entrepreneurial mindset, then no matter what that child ends up doing, whether they become a scientist and a researcher, we've heard about commercializing research. They'll be able to do that. Whether they're an artist and they want to promote their artwork, or whether they want to raise funds for their local sports club or social club, whether they're working in a government department and they've got limited resources to use. It doesn't matter what career they choose, they'll be able to use the entrepreneurial mindset. So in fact, what we're doing is not only growing capital wealth within the country, but also sporting wealth, social wealth, artistic wealth. And where do we start? Well, I think we need to think big, but start small. We need to start with 4-year-olds as soon as they enter school. There are about 400 business concepts that you need to understand to start and manage a business. And I set up an organization in Ireland, the National Foundation for Teaching Entrepreneurship, and we teach 11 to 18-year-olds how to start businesses. They love it. They learn through their local community centres and through schools. And I use the same model to go in to classes myself of 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds and teach them. And what were the results? Well, this is a typical class of 26 kids. They understood 15 of those 400 business concepts within an hour and a half. And because they can't read or write at that stage, what I used is trading games as a tool to educate them. They understood sales, negotiation, promotion, pricing, all of those concepts very quickly. And the teacher said she was amazed at how engaged the kids were and how much they loved it. I asked the children, how many of you want to become entrepreneurs? And they all put up their hand. So these are some of the 4-year-olds that I've taught, and they're now 9. And they've experimented with different business ideas. They started by dog walking. They discovered the market for dog walking was pretty small, but they raised about 15 euros. They made about 15 euros a day. So they decided they wanted to make more money. They decided they'd go out to shops and stores and see what was available. And they discovered that mirrors were selling for about 25 to 35 euro. So they thought, well, they could make them. So they took a loan of 30 euro. They went out, bought all the raw materials that they needed, the boards, the glues, and they went to tile stores, and they got broken tiles free of charge, brought them home, and they spent 2.5 months designing and making mirrors. Then they went out and sold them, and they made 200 euros. They made a clean 170 euros profit. But when they looked at their figures more closely, they realized that they were making about 20 euros a day because it was incredibly labor intensive. So they thought, well, we've got to try something else. So they went out and they bought the materials for baking. They spent the morning baking about 8 product lines. And in the afternoon, they went out and they sold. And they called door to door, and everybody bought something. Because they discovered that if you sell something for a low price, it's an impulse buy. And then they tried promotions, 3 for 2. If you spend more than 5 euros, you get 10 euros off, 10% off. And they in one day, they made 70 euros clean profit. And they keep their proper books of account. They minute their meetings, and they love it. And why do they keep going? Because they're making lots of money and they can eat the leftovers. So I believe that they've changed the way they think. These are some quotes from a recent brainstorming session that they had. And you can see that they're thinking of some big ideas. We aren't solving any big problems. If we think of something everybody wants, our business would be bigger. They thought of an art site so that people could create their own art online with advice from professionals. They wanted to invent a liquid to prevent flowers from wilting, or an electronic skipping rope. They thought also about an NGO Why do we have to take down the rainforest? Why couldn't we get people to plant trees in their gardens and fields? So I believe if we set ourselves a goal to become number one in terms of entrepreneurship activity in Europe, and we have a proper plan to deliver that. And there are examples of countries that have plans that recently, both Denmark and Finland designed an entrepreneurship education strategy, and they've already seen the benefits of that. But added to that, we need experiential learning. We will have lots of 9-year-olds like that, and we will change the way people think, and it will be for the benefit of our country. Thank you.